Hello and welcome to the second part of Sports Talk right here on Tameside Radio. I'm Mark Phillip, Head of Sport at Quest Media Network, bringing you the latest in local sports news and interviews. So firstly, we'll take a look at some cricket news. Now the 2021 cricket season has marked the beginning of a new chapter for Stalybridge Cricket Club, with the formation of a junior development programme reaping dividends already, a revitalised clubhouse thrust into the 21st century, and two vice-captains aiming to take the first team to glory in the Derbyshire and Cheshire Cricket League. Now, as frustrating as the past 12 months has been for sports clubs up and down the country, the spare time has allowed members of the club to regroup and lay the foundations for future success, with Vice-Captain Adam Hardwick appointed as the man to establish a thriving junior section. It's a responsibility he hasn't taken lightly, but one that he's embraced with open arms in the full knowledge that clubs, especially those in Tameside with limited funds, are reliant on a strong junior set-up to ensure the future prosperity of the game. I spoke to Adam about the latest developments at Gorsall Road.
Week 5, I think, is this Friday. So we started up the first week. I think we got 24 on the first week. And the second week it was 27. And then it went 42, 41, and then 53 last Friday. So it's the 6th week this week.
Brilliant stuff. So how do you feel about that response? It must be good, but did you anticipate these kind of numbers?
To be fair, I think I just anticipated just my son's football team, which is about 11. But I think we've been quite fortunate because we started it quite early. And I think, obviously, like you just said, then it was 4 months ago when we first said we were going to do it, and we pushed it as much as we could on social media, and we got stuff in the schools. Active Tameside have been really good and helpful with us. So I think it's been great the fact that the word has kind of spread. And I think people knowing other people have just brought kids along. Yeah, it's been unbelievable, really. I think that we originally kind of said to ourselves we just wanted to start with one team, like an under-11s team, and see how that went. But we submitted 2 teams. We submitted an under-11s and an under-13s in league, thinking that we could just do an under-11s and they could play both age groups. But then a lot of parents were asking about the younger kids, and we just said, well, yeah, let's do it and see how we can do it. And then on the nights, what we've tried to do is we've separated the ground. It's unbelievable. The ground, I've never seen the ground have the full use of a pitch.
Yeah.
We've managed to split it out where we've got the kids that are between the age of 9 and 13 on one side with the hard ball and the net, and then on the other side there's kind of like 4 different groups of younger kids all playing some form of softball cricket. So it's unbelievable to see.
That must bode well for the future then, because as you'll know, local cricket clubs rely on a junior section for the future to, progress into the 3rd, 2nds and 1st. So, that must be a good feeling as well.
Yeah, I think my generation was probably the last junior set up, and I'm 34 now, so that's 15, 16 years ago was probably the last junior team that I think we had in the league. So to be able to see it again and to be a part of it as well, it's unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
And we played our first game up at Tintwistle 2 weeks ago, and just being able to put a team out at Stalybridge was pretty special, really.
What do you put the collapse down to when it comes to the lack of juniors at cricket clubs? Like you said then, your generation was probably the last. What do you think the reason is behind it?
I think maybe at that time, I think there's probably maybe a lack of interest in cricket, but I think from our club perspective, where we are, there's other clubs that were doing a lot better. Where in comparison, for example, at the time when I was 19, 20 and come out of junior cricket, the league that Stalybridge were playing in were the Cheshire Alliance. So we were travelling to like Audland. I think we had one on the Wirral. So we were travelling like an hour to games, an away game on a Saturday morning, it's not interesting for young kids, is it, that?
No.
Whereas teams like Duckingfield, Hyde, maybe even kind of Tintwistle, Dinton, Glossop and all that way, they was all local leagues. So, we moved 5 years ago into the Derbyshire and Cheshire, which has been a great move for the club, really, because we've been able to play local cricket.
So do you think the travelling is a massive issue then, in terms of trying to get people on board to join the club? Even at first team level now, say if you're in your 30s, do you think travelling was an issue or one of the major issues?
Yeah, I think because it affects your family life and your social life, doesn't it? I think if your wife knows you're going to be home at 9:30 on a Saturday, it becomes a little bit more challenging to say I'm playing cricket on a Saturday, doesn't it? But if you can say, well, I'm going to be back at 6, I'm going to have a couple of pints and I'll be home for 7, it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned pints then, and the social club at cricket clubs, they're a massive part of how they function, how they make money. You just said then, when the juniors are training, you've never seen the ground so full, so I imagine you're making a bit of money on selling Coca-Cola and stuff like that to them.
Yeah, sunk shots.
Yeah.
I was just talking to our chairman the other night about kind of income that has come in. I'll just give you an idea of kind of what's happened. So we over a year, I don't think last few years we don't particularly make much. We make maybe £100 on a Saturday, and then I'll just give you an example of what's happened in the last 5 weeks. So on a normal training senior night, it was between 50 and 80 quid taking over the bar. The juniors in 5 weeks, on the first week it was 140 quid, the second week 450 quid, third week 250 quid, fourth week 250 quid, fifth week 450 quid. It's kind of saved the club in a way, the fact that we're able to have a social gathering of people that want to be there with the kids.
Yeah, and obviously the clubhouse should reopen from next Monday when you're allowed to go in. Do you see more people coming down, getting involved, even if it's just for a little bit of a social?
I'd like to hope so. I think what we've done on the ground, I mean, we've created we've kind of taken a bit of the corner off of the ground and made a beer garden while the social distancing was in place. So we've only used that over the last 5 weeks, but we've done obviously there's been a redevelopment done inside the clubhouse, where I don't know if you've ever been to Stalybridge, but originally it was literally just brown brick walls. It was a bar that we made out of plywood and was black and dingy and disgusting. But we decided that we needed to invest this money because it's the only way that we're going to keep going. And we got electricians in, we got plasterers in, we've had a brand new bar built by one of our players who can do anything really. He's built the bar, he's put the flooring in, so it's completely like new. It looks amazing. I think we're in the final stages of it today. Really, I think the architraves and skirting's going on, and then ready for the 17th.
Yeah, so it's made it much more appealing, not just for club members but people in the community, I guess.
Yeah, and I think what's helped is people have come up and seen how much kind of the existing players care about the club. I mean, from my perspective, I'm doing the level 2 coaching, and when I started this, I thought I'm going to be on my own a bit here, and I'm going to cope with a lot of people come. But every time I've kind of said, "Oh, the numbers have grown," someone from the club has said, "Oh, well, I'll come and help," and I'll come and help. And I think I said this week, I can't make this Friday. And I just said to a couple of the first teams, is there any chance you can help? And I've got more helpers this week on the week I'm not there. So there's kind of like 7 players that are going to be there this weekend on this Friday from both teams that are going to be doing junior training.
Yeah.
So it's enabled us to have 7 separate sessions with the number of kids. So it's unbelievable, really. Even from the players and the help that you get from them has been just brilliant, which we've never had that as well. That's one thing that I think previous chairmans or kind of committees, they've never really involved the players into helping, whereas Bill, our chairman now, is kind of all for let's work together and we'll do this together kind of thing, which has been really refreshing for everyone.
Yeah, a real team effort. And you just mentioned your coaching then. How were you first approached by the club to coach, and were you a little bit apprehensive at first, or was it just kind of something you wanted to throw yourself into?
I think it helps the fact I've got a son. I think players that have got kids want to try and do the best for them, and I think I've tried to coach my son, and he sits there and goes, "Stop trying to coach me.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to tell me that?" I think when you're learning something and you're able to do it the right way, it kind of changes their mindset of how they look at you, and they kind of look at you like, "Oh, you know about cricket," rather than, "Oh, you're my dad." So I think that was kind of a bit of a reason why I wanted to do it, and as well because I felt, because I'm probably one of the senior members of the club now, it was probably the right person to do it, if that makes sense.
So tell us a bit about your aims and ambitions for this season then in Division 1 of the Derbyshire and Cheshire Cricket League.
There's me and Mike Whitworth who kind of said when the year before last, Jamie was captain, and there was kind of, again, going back to existing members who it's probably the right time for them to step up. Me and Mike said, well, don't particularly want to do it on my own, I feel maybe if we did it together, it might kind of split the load of how we're sort the club out. So because last year we only had half a season, we said, well, we'll have a free hit at this because we're in Division 1. It was our first year in Division 1. And we kind of said, well, we've got a couple of younger players, like there's a couple of lads, Jacob and Adam, who were 18 and 15. And we said, right, well, they can play all year in the first team because there's no relegation and we'll give them cricket time. So our aim last year was that the younger lads get a game of cricket and we'll see what the division's about. And I think we probably won as many as we lost, but for us that was quite a bit of an achievement. And obviously we only had the first team last year because we didn't want to put a second team in because of weren't sure in numbers of who wanted to play.
Yeah.
Coming into this year, the numbers for senior players, we've always had a couple of reserves available to us and some really strong teams. We've got a double header this weekend, and I think the two teams on Saturday are really strong teams, and on Sunday we've got two strong teams again. And for a double header weekend, you wouldn't normally expect that. Me and Mike are kind of hoping that we're looking for a mid-table finish, that we stand our ground. But we had a game against Dinton the other week, and we played them in a cup a few years ago, and we was miles off. I think they scored 250, and we was 100 all out. Whereas we played them 2 weeks ago, and they got 225, and I think we ended up on 215. So from a progression perspective, being in the league of better players and better teams, we've kind of moved with the time and stepped up.
And just to go back to the junior section, I was going to say, are there any youngsters that have got a bright future in the first team already? Can you identify some of them?
I think looking last night, we had an under-13s game last night, and just seeing how they've progressed in 4 weeks is unbelievable. The way the bowling, everything, line, and they're pitching it up there. A little bit of work to do on batting straight, but fielding and bowling, you can tell that they're listening to what you're saying. And one thing that has stood out for me with the younger lads that are playing is they're so competitive. They don't particularly, not quite technically aware of what they should be doing, but they'll absolutely throw themselves at anything, and there's no fear. I remember when I was 11 playing under 13s, and I was scared out of my head of a ball coming at me, where these lads, they absolutely don't care. They'll throw anything at it.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant to see that. So the juniors is on a Friday at 6:15. We're doing that every Friday, and just bring them along any age. At the minute we've got an under 13s, but if is kind of our highest age group, but if more come, then we're open to kind of submit more teams. Last Friday I think we had 20. I think there were 22 that we could probably select from for the two teams. Yeah. So if that keeps growing, then obviously next year we'd look to put 2 under 13s teams and 2 under 11s teams, and hopefully the younger ones that are kind of 7, 8 and 9, we'll be able to progress them through into the hardball. But yeah, more the merrier. Bring them along at 6:15 on a Friday.
Brilliant stuff. And what about the seniors then? Are you still looking for players?
Oh, players always welcome at our club, yeah. 6:15 on a Thursday for senior players. And again, please come down for the social aspects and the cricket aspects. It'd be great.
Well, that was Staleybury Cricket Club's Adam Hardwick talking about the latest developments at Gorshaw Road. Now in other news, the Tameside Stadium was a hive of activity on Wednesday night as two clubs went head-to-head in a bid to raise funds for charity. The football fixture, dubbed Clash of the Clubs, saw Curzon Ashton's junior coaches take on Manchester Corinthians junior coaches, raising funds for the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital and the Mighton Hospices in Leamington. It was organised as part of an effort to support two junior players, Jimmy Gledhill and Tom Jackson, who are being treated on Ward 84 at the Manchester Children's Hospital. I spoke to event organisers Stephen Gemmell and Clayton Palmer about the reasons behind the fixture.
We've got a great setting here tonight to put on a great event in the aid of two charities, two brilliant clubs. So Curzon are doing it for Manchester Children's Hospital, Corinthians are doing it for Mighton's Hospice. We've both got family members who've been affected and who are helping out the charities. So tonight it's a great opportunity to raise money for two worthy causes, and we're looking forward to it. The club is built on volunteers, and there's 26 volunteers and a special guest down here tonight playing for us, so we're really looking forward to it, and everyone's excited.
Tell us a bit about the special guest that's come down.
Yeah, so Freddie Flintoff, or Andrew Flintoff is his better known as, but he's related. He's got a connection with Neil Jackson, who's Tom Jackson's dad, through the cricket through Lancashire. So he's he wanted to come down tonight and support the families as well. The Ward 84 at Manchester Children's Hospital, so any money we raise will go towards to help and buy equipment, iPads and things for using the ward. So the Children's Hospital have been really good with us as well. They forgive us some of the memorabilia which is on show tonight as well, and we've had some things donated for auction. Man City have given us something to auction, Paul Scholes has given us something to auction, and Stockport Golf Club will give us something to auction as well.
So I was into coaching from young, got a job with a couple of pals who I formed a club with, started working with them, and yeah, from there, off the back of that, we do a lot of work in schools. So off the back of that, we had a lot of interest to come and play in football teams. So formed a club from there, and then it's gone from strength to strength, more teams, and that all the way through for the last 10 to 11 years now. So yeah, I think we're into our 11th year this year. So loads and loads of teams, loads of kids playing, and going really well. We expand every year, obviously, because of as the kids move up the age groups, we bring in younger kids in there. So we're always going to expand. So the club just grows and grows each year. We're making sure now that we get good people involved with us as well, because it used to be just me and the lads running the club, and it didn't work like that. So yeah, to make the experience the best we can for the kids, we've got people on board now, really good people who are really putting together some good initiatives for us. With us coming off the back of COVID, there's been a lot of times, first of all, when we've not been able to be together. We try and run a lot of fundraisers through the year to get the kids together, the parents together, create that like family feel in the club, which we couldn't do. And with my like close connections to Curzon and stuff like that, I spoke to Steve and put the idea to him, and yeah, we got the ball rolling. Obviously, it was a bit touch and go the other day when the Prime Minister said that he might be looking to push the dates back. But obviously, it's the first time everyone can get in a stadium as well, so we're hoping for a really good turnout tonight, because I think people are happy to get out and go and enjoy themselves. The Mighton Hospice that we're raising for actually isn't around it; it's in Leamington. But one of the parents of one of our players who still plays for us, James, Brian, sadly passed away, and this hospice looked after him. Brian was a massive supporter of our club. James started right from 6 years old and still plays for the club now in the under-15s, and yeah, it was sad that we couldn't, obviously because of the time that he passed, we couldn't really do anything in his honour because we couldn't get together, and the club was stopped for a little bit through COVID. So this is like the first opportunity we've got. So James and the family will be down tonight as well, and obviously even though the Mighton Hospice isn't close in terms of geographically, it's like sort of close to the club, so that's why we chose that charity.
Well, that was Stephen Gemmell and Clayton Palmer talking about the hugely successful Clash of the Clubs football fixture, which took place on Wednesday night at the Tameside Stadium. Now, continuing with the theme of football, and Glossop North End have appointed former Warrington Town boss Stuart Mellish as the first team manager. Stuart replaces Peter Band, who has opted to become the assistant boss at the newly formed Macclesfield FC. Glossop North End TV spoke to Stuart about his appointment and his aims and ambitions for the Hillman.
Potential, to be honest with you. I think it's a football club with a great fan base, particularly playing here many years ago as a player and certainly recently as a manager with Warrington Town. The atmosphere at the club is fantastic, to be honest with you. So if we can get this place rocking again, playing some good football, I think one of the main factors of joining the club.
Having been around Step 4 for a while, in and around the Northern Premier League, how do you see Glossop as a club with plenty of potential, no doubt? Yeah,
as I just touched on it then, I think the fan base is great. I think my job is now to try and get a team together that can play some good attacking football, get the fans on their feet, enjoy the football, and obviously we can get the fans behind us as well. I think this place can be a real hotbed for some good football.
Do you think joining Glossop at what would normally be, the end of the season will give you plenty of time moving into the 21-22 season? You've got a bit of time now to sort the squad out, pre-season, things like that?
Yeah, I think it does give you a lot of time to speak to players, but also on the flip side of that, it can be a bit of an hindrance as well, because it's longer for other clubs to speak to players and try and tap into your players as well. So it does give you a bit of time, but on the flip side it can be quite difficult as well. But like I say, we've got plenty of time to speak to players and hopefully get people in for pre-season.
And what sort of style of football can the fans expect here when you have your squad? Do you have a particular way of setting up, away from home, at home? Is it attractive? Is it holding the ball up, or what can we expect?
What you're going to get a team that's going to work hard. That's first and foremost. You play for me, you work hard, you put the effort in, you put a good shift in. We like to play forward, good attacking football, get the ball forward quickly, play in their half of the pitch, be solid as we can defensively, but most of all attacking football and get the fans excited.
Do you think you'll be looking to bring in any big names to Glossop, or you'll be bringing in, the younger players who have the hunger, the passion to play, or a bit of a mix in the middle of the park there?
Yeah, I'm not going to start mentioning names or we're going to try and speak to or attract to the football club. I think the first and foremost is what league we're going to be playing in. That's going to have a massive factor on attracting players. I think Fairwood are going to be in more of a northern league with more local clubs, which will be a benefit to the club and help us attract players. But I think it's going to be a blend of experience and youth as well, and get the balance right.
The last few seasons have seen obviously Glossop struggle to sort of keep clean sheets in the league. Is that something that you're keen to sort out from a defensive point of view? Keep us in games, you know, for as long as we can, and obviously, like you say, play that attacking football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's easier said than done. I mean, people say goals win games, and they don't. Goals change games. If you score 3 goals and concede 4, the goals aren't winning the game. Yeah. Clean sheets win your games, and clean sheets keep you in games, because you're always going to get a chance in the game, whatever level of football you're playing at. So yeah, we're going to try and keep it tight at the back, concede as many as we can. But with the free-flowing attacking football, hopefully we can score some goals as well and win some games.
I mean, do you sort of evaluate players in a slightly different light, sort of depending on which level they've played at previously, or is it a bit of an open slate now? You know, new boss here, new regime.
Yeah, it's certainly an open slate. The players that come into the football club, they've got a chance to prove themselves who played here last year. And again, it's evaluating what players you get from different levels and where they've played. Younger players need a little bit more coaching, whereas more experienced players, you can trust people in games. But it's in identifying the small things, how to manage football games, and positions you need to pick to get yourself in when you haven't got the ball, and things you do when you've got the ball. So it's a little bit of both, really.
You've got plenty of time during the off-season, but the next big day for the club and the supporters is obviously the fixtures being released. This is when everyone gets excited about the new season and possibly the new division realignment. Are there any matches that stand out for you now that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think everybody gets excited when the seasons come out, only players, staff and the fans particularly. Again, depending on what league we're playing, and hopefully it'll be a favourable decision. But then the standout ones are all the local games, particularly Mosley. I think I watched you play Mosley a few seasons ago. I think it was 700, and it was a great atmosphere, and that's what we'd like to see again. Yeah.
Spending your previous time as a manager at Warrington and Clitheroe, what is your message to the Hillman supporters who will be watching this tonight? You know, looking at, excited about the decision. What's your message to the supporters tonight?
The message is simple. Listen, I'm going to work hard to get a team together, play some good attacking football. But most importantly, it's a team and it's a club that's going to get us higher up the pyramid if possible. The fans could be a 12th man here without a shadow of a doubt, so we need the fans on board. Get behind the lads, because the lads are going to work hard, and let's see if we can be successful.
Well, that was new Glossop North End manager Stuart Mellish talking about his aims and ambitions for the Hillman for the forthcoming season. Now, the evolution of technology in sport is on a constant incline, but the conversation around whether it is accepted by all is forever ongoing. Quest Media Network's Katie Catherall spoke to BT Sport's Susie Perry to get her views on the issue.
I think technology has made sport more fair generally. I know there's a lot of headlines at the moment about VAR and the introduction of VAR, and just playing devil's advocate with that. I think the actual technology is okay. I think it's how it's read that maybe it's error. So I think human error, although it was supposed to take it off the pitch, I think it's maybe taken it into the room where they're looking at VAR, and I'm not sure the right decisions are always being cast, and it's made football quite forensic and taken away that passion for being able to celebrate a goal. So I don't think it's working very well in football, but I do think there's a lot of technology that works beautifully. And over the years, I think we take it for granted now. When you look at sports analysis, things like instant replays, slow motion replays, being able to rewind technology, being able to look at it from a 360 degrees, spider, drone technology that's coming now, they all take us much closer to the game and give us a better experience. And personally, for me, anything that gives us a more immersive experience of sport is good. In terms of fair, which is what your question was, I think goal line technology has been excellent. Hawkeye in tennis, photo finish technology in horse racing, all these kinds of technologies have been game changers. And I think some research was done recently by BT Sport. 1 in 3 people think that it's much fairer because of technology, and I agree with that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know a lot of people dislike VAR itself because of the fact that it stops and starts football games when it used to be such a nice flow and celebratory moment. What do you think of that?
Well, depending on the referee. The flow, yeah, I don't like it when it stops and starts. And something like rugby, which has a bit more of a stop-start feeling about it, technology has been maybe better utilised and well embraced. But in football, it feels like it just makes it forensic and rips the heart out of it. So yeah, as you say, it does stop the flow. I don't have a problem with it stopping the flow if the right decision's being made and it's transparent. Rugby, you can hear what's being said, you know what's going on, whereas in football they haven't quite got that right yet. So I do think that they need to have another look at that.
Absolutely, yeah. And we spoke about the fact that it could be instances where it's wrong then as well. And I suppose you always find instances where players and managers don't agree, like we saw in Cameroon a few years ago. How do we tackle the thought of that some players and managers won't agree with the decisions that are being made with this technology?
I think it's a really difficult one in football, which, let's talk about that because it's the biggest sport. Ultimately, you have to have rules that the voted people agree for. I don't think there'll ever be a time in football where everybody will agree with every decision that's made. And that's maybe part of the reason why we watch football, for the injustice of it as well. But it has to be as fair as it can be. And I think, some of the rules that they've introduced seem to be a bit strange, like the modern handball rule, for example. That for me doesn't work either. So I think there are different layers here. I don't think it's a simple solution of taking away the technology. I actually think that the VAR technology that's being used could be better implemented. But yeah, there's got to be different ways of interpreting it to make it acceptable for fans.
Yeah, I agree. And do you think that using actual technology will affect the performance of the actual athletes themselves?
Well, I think, ultimately it can affect motivation in a positive or a negative way. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna demotivate if it's not used properly. But on the other hand, if you look at goal line technology and Hawkeye, it's never questioned because it's spot on. And it works. It's so good. A photo finish, you can think that you've crossed the line first, but when you look back at the technology, it could be by millimeters, but ultimately if it's photo finish, then it says everything in the terminology there, that you have basically come to the line at the same time. There's got to be a way of calling a winner. So I think it inherently should be motivational, it should be fair. But I think there's just these errors and teething errors with VAR that they need to sort out. And
I mentioned the negatives, and obviously you've pointed out a lot of the positives as well, but it can be an amazing thing to have this extra technology and to see how the game's developed over the years. So it is a good thing ultimately, isn't it?
I think it is. And as a consumer for sport, I think it is. Even the fact that we don't have to sit in front of a TV now to watch sport. We're always on the go. We're busy. So we use our mobile phones and they have apps, and we can decide what we want to watch from that sport with the different cameras that are being used. We have the spider drones, we have the 360 technology. In my sport, in MotoGP, there's a lot of onboard technology. Same in Formula One, you can be racing on board with a driver or a rider, and they have chase cameras, and you really feel like how close they get, and it makes the experience very exciting. So sport can be very positive, and we're looking for the next big thing in sport at BT. That's why I'm talking today about sport and technology. It's a competition called Innovate 21, and a couple of years ago we worked with an idea called Watch Together, where you could bring your friends in and talk about sport on your phone, on the app, and watch the sport by splitting the screen. So it's really great, makes the experience very immersive. We're looking for the next big thing, whether it's about broadcasting or analysis or about watching. So, if you're an entrepreneur or a creative startup, you've got an idea, we're happy to work with the seed of an idea, and myself, Robbie Savage, Brian O'Driscoll are working with a team of experts to find out what it is, and we're all really excited about it. If anybody wants to know more, just go to the website bt.com/innovate21.
Well, that was Quest Media Network's Katie Catherall speaking to BT Sport's Susie Perry about the evolution of technology in sport. And finally on Sports Talk, I was joined earlier today by Betfred's Peter Spencer to look ahead to the final round of Premier League fixtures taking place on Sunday. We provide the latest odds for City's clash against Everton, United's trip to Wolves, the top four finishers and the Golden Boot Award. And who will Harry Kane sign for over summer? We have the latest odds on the striker's potential move. Peter, I can't quite believe it, but this Sunday marks the end of the Premier League season and there's a lot to play for. So looking at the fixtures, we've got Wolves hosting Manchester United and City take on Everton at the Etihad Stadium. Firstly though, fans are going to be back in for that one. That's going to be great to see.
Well, the City one is particularly interesting because it could be Sergio Aguero's last game for Manchester City, because I don't really expect him to play in the Champions League final. So they'll be looking for some tremendous send-off for Aguero. He has been the bane in my boss Fred Doan's life for at least 10 years. All the time he's been at City because of our Hat-trick Heaven promotion, often when a player scores first. Yeah. He's 11 to 10 to score first in his probably most certainly his last game for Manchester City. Jesu, another player who's battling to get himself in the frame for a Champions League start. He's 13-10. Sterling's 6-4. He's in that bracket as well. Gundogan is 6-4. De Bruyne 2-1, and Phil Foden, who shouldn't have any qualms about whether he'll get in the Champions League final side. He's 13-8. So City are 4-9 to beat Everton. Everton 6-1.
Brilliant stuff, and there are a fair few teams vying for a top 4 finish. So looking at the key fixtures on Sunday, they're all 4 p.m. kickoffs. We've got Liverpool taking on Crystal Palace, Leicester hosting Tottenham Hotspur, and Aston Villa hosting Chelsea. So there's some massive games, Peter.
Well, they certainly are. Betfred have Liverpool now 1-10 to make a top 4 finish. They've come from nowhere. They've had a strong finish to the campaign. Unlike Leicester, who are dipping out now, they're no longer odds on. They're 5-2 for a top 4 finish. Chelsea are 1-9 with Betfred. So that's the only issue to be resolved team-wise in the Premier League. There are other issues towards the Golden Boot, for instance.
Absolutely, and let's just take a look at Leicester. They won the FA Cup last weekend, but then on Tuesday they lost to Chelsea, really damaging their top 4 hopes, and they're going to do it again. They did it last season, didn't they, under Brendan Rodgers as well?
Yeah, it is a great shame that it's going to end up one of the 4 of the top 6 teams will take those 4 places. It's widely expected, but there are surprises could happen. We've had a surprising season in many ways. Leicester still in the frame, 5-2 to make that top 4 finish, but they do need to pick up 3 points unless there's some quirky results on the day with draws at Anfield, and also with Chelsea at Villa.
Absolutely, and taking a look at the Golden Boot, it's between Mo Salah and Harry Kane. Harry Kane, he's tipped to go City this season. What are the odds looking like for him? Next season, sorry.
Yeah, well, the odds for Harry Kane to move, it's now obvious he's going to move. He's now talking about how it'll be his decision. Looks like there's been a gentleman's agreement in place. That's quite a regular occurrence. I remember Ronaldo agreed with Sir Alex Ferguson not so long ago that he would stay 1 more season, and I suspect that's what's happened with Harry Kane. City would be one of his preferred choices, if not the preferred choice for Harry Kane, if they don't go for Haaland. City are 7-4 to sign Harry Kane. I think he fit perfectly into the City team. He's evolved his game. He's not just a striker. He plays some superb link balls from midfield as well. He's 7-4 to join City now. United drifted slightly, 3-1 to sign Harry Kane. He'd fit in at Old Trafford, of course, as well. Chelsea 7-1. And of the foreign teams, which Daniel Levy has said, the Tottenham chairman that is, has said he'd much prefer him to go abroad, but they'll kind of always say that, don't they, until the £100,000, 100 million check starts splashing around. Then suddenly it's, the money talks. And PSG, anyway, from the foreign teams, they're 16-1, they're top of the foreign teams to sign Harry Kane. But I do think it's looking like he'll be coming to Manchester. He scored 21 goals this season, and that's despite his injuries. He's 11-10 to pick up the Golden Boot. Salah is also on 21 goals. He's 4-6, so he's edging it there, and that's because the easier matches, or the perceived easier games. Salah playing for Liverpool against Palace at home, needing that win, whereas Kane will be playing for Spurs at Leicester, and that could be a tough one because Leicester need those 3 points, and then they'll just hope that particularly Liverpool struggle.
Absolutely. Well, we did mention it on Monday Sports Talk, but what about Allison's goal in the 94th minute at West Brom to keep Liverpool's top 4 hopes alive? Quite crazy scenes.
Yeah, it was, and that's what I was referring to in part when I said that it's been a strange season. Who would have thought that the Liverpool goalkeeper would have put the champions, as they are, remember, from last season, into a top 4 position? Because if they hadn't got a top 4 position, there would have been one huge clear out at Liverpool, because that team struggled, but it's just scrambled, showed good character to get a top 4 finish. Don't forget United are playing as well.
Yeah, they are. They're at Wolves, aren't they, this weekend?
Yeah. Betfred have. There's been a huge drift on United. They're now 7-4, not even favourites to win at Wolves, and the reason for that is that we understand at Betfred that United will put out very much a scratch team because they're playing in the Europa League final on Wednesday. So the odds are a bit unusual, but Dan James, who we think will come into the team, he's not been in the first team picture very much this season. He's 10-1 to score. We think Mason Greenwood will get a run out, and he's 5-1 to score the opening goal for United at Molineux on Sunday.
Brilliant stuff. I was going to say, looking back on Tuesday's 1-1 draw against Fulham, Cavani's 30-yard strike, lobbing it over the keeper. Great to see a goal like that in front of the Old Trafford faithful, but as a performance on the whole, it was pretty dreadful, wasn't it?
It was. That was certainly the highlight. And then, of course, what annoyed me most about that was the huge debate about whether Bruno had actually touched it to keep Cavani on side. Well, it looked to me as if he touched it. Afterwards, Bruno saying he didn't know whether he touched it, so it must have been the faintest of touches. But to rule a goal like that out would have been ridiculous. And that's the problem with the current system. The debate is all about whether it should stand or not how great the goal was. And it was one of the best goals I've ever seen. It was absolutely tremendous. The awareness to see the keeper was off his line, and then they just slot it in like that, and you just knew it was going in as soon as he touched it. It was brilliant.
Showing his class. He might be 34 years old, but he's still got a lot of quality, and he's staying at United next season.
He is, and you wonder how much he'd have been worth if he was 27 like Harry Kane. Maybe he'd be worth more than that, £150 million, which he'd been widely quoted, although I don't think they'll end up paying that.
No.
I think it'd be more like the 120 million mark for whether he goes to City or United.
Well, our thanks as usual go to our sponsor Betfred for providing the latest odds ahead of this weekend's fixture and numerous other markets. Well, I'm afraid that's it for this week's show. However, you can find more local sports news on our website, questmedianetwork.co.uk.